The best our hardworking local producers have to offer. Special thanks to our season sponsor, First Federal Bank and Trust. See you Thursday on Grinnell Plaza at the Sheridan Farmers Market. And remember, please leave your pets at home.
This is Public Pulse, your information and conversation program, brought to you by Eliason Financial. You can voice your opinion by calling 672-KROE. That's 672-5763. Now, your host for Public Pulse, Floyd Whiting.
Good morning and welcome to the Pulse. Now joining me this morning is the mayor of Sheridan, Mr. Rich Bridger.
Morning.
City Councilman Steve Brands.
Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. It is a beautiful morning out there. I imagine it's going to get quite warm as we tick throughout the day, but it's beautiful outside right now. Now, it is rodeo week here in Sheridan. And what does the rodeo really do for the city? That's what we're going to talk about today. What does the city do for the rodeo and vice versa? Mr. Mayor, do you remember your first rodeo?
You know, I actually do remember it. I was very young at the time, and my dad was a highway patrolman, so we traveled a lot. I mean, he got transferred a lot, and my first rodeo happened to be in Rock Springs.
Ah, the Sweetwater County Rodeo,
Yeah, and it was hot, and it was dry, and I wasn't all that impressed, to be quite honest with you, because I was pretty little.
Yeah. Do you, Councilman Brands, you and I were talking about this a little bit before the show. You brought up a great point. Kids tend to remember the carnival more than the rodeo in their first experience.
Well, that's exactly true. You know, you think about seeing the world through the eyes of a child. Everything is huge.
Yeah.
I remember thinking how huge our carnivals were. And, of course, the rodeo I also went when I was probably 10, so it would have been in the 60s. But, again, I thought, oh, my gosh, this is just huge. Now, as an older gentleman, not quite as old as Rich, but last night we were there, and it's adequate. It's a great rodeo, and I was looking at the carnival going, I'm sure it's not as big as I remember, but the children were having such an awesome time. So, like I said, our perception changes, but are we ever so thankful to have such a activity in Sheridan?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I can remember mine, and as I was telling you before we started the show, that's exactly what I remember. I remember sitting up in the stands on my father's lap. I have a better long-term memory than a short-term. So I remember that, wearing my little black cowboy hat, and Dad was just beaming proud. I can remember him holding me on his lap and watching the bulls, because that's what they were monsters back then, giant monsters that these brave men were jumping on top of to go out there. But it really was the carnival, growing up out in the country, those bright lights. And you had back then probably, a Ferris wheel and maybe two big rides. Other than that, a lot of games. Right. And then the one ride that I loved as a kid, the little cars that do nothing but go around in a circle. And I was driving, like Dad. So everything was gravy. Yeah. Now, let's look at what the YO does for the city of Sheridan itself. Mr. Mayor, what does having this huge traditional event do for the city?
Well, it's a recognition for one thing, because it's one of the better rodeos in the country.
Absolutely.
And so it's a big draw, and it brings a lot of people to town, obviously. And I think it carries through with our legacy of the West and the Western lifestyle. And I just take my hat off to those people that organize that every year, because that is an immense job that they do.
Oh, yeah.
And so that rodeo board, I think as soon as the one gets over, they start with the next one. And they've turned that event into something that's gets national recognition, really. Mm-hmm. And so the economic impact is just huge of what it brings to town. So my hat's off to that group.
Councilman?
Yeah, I know I was talking to a lot of the local businesses this week, and of course they're in a little bit of a panic because of the help situation.
Yeah.
But the motels were, full. The restaurants are, begging for help because they know they're going to be swamped. So as the mayor alluded to, it is an economic driver for our community. It's one of those cases where we have something that's done that's really nice and we also make quite a bit of money from it. So it does also showcase our area because we do get a lot of people that come in to see the rodeo and also the parade, which is coming up. So it's pretty nice. It showcases our community and in the best ways.
Absolutely. And what a jewel of tradition, culture, and heritage, you know. And it really showcases the cowboy and cowgirl, you know.
Well, and last night you could really see that too, and I'm always impressed. My heart kind of almost jumps out of my shirt, and I don't know what that feeling is, but last night, you're at the rodeo and they bring the flag out and everybody stands up and they salute that flag. You have the such a dedicated community, such a patriotism around a rodeo. It just is amazing. I remember a few years ago when they had the gentleman that would fly in, skydive with the flag. Those are moments that just touch your heart.
Oh, yeah.
You just see a community that is vested in values. And that's what Sheridan is. We have values.
Absolutely.
And it showed it last night at the rodeo as people stood up, hats off, Pledge of Allegiance. Everything was just so heartwarming last night.
And taking off that the stands are just packed, and it's a Wednesday night.
On a Wednesday night, just packed full. Yeah.
But we're on the subject, I want to give a shout out to our parks and city crews.
Oh my gosh.
Because they really step it up this time, and you don't see it because they're just hardworking folks that do their job. But there's a lot more trash that's generated. There's a lot more utilities that are needed. The parks crews work very hard to get the parks looking very nice. The streets crew fills all the potholes, gets everything ready to go. So when people come to town, they see just this beautiful community, and they don't know all the hardworking people that made that happen.
Right. It's one of those situations where if it's not done, you notice it.
Right.
If it is done, you don't.
Right.
Maybe some folks do. I'm not going to try and generalize everybody. But it is one of those situations where, you're walking through a park, and if it's super busy, you're paying attention to the event. You're watching what's going on. You're stopping at the little stores. But the minute you start to see garbage laying around, the minute you start to see the waste and you drive away, hit that pothole, up and hit that one. Now you notice it, And so I think it's absolutely great. We're going to talk about that a little bit more as we get into it because, what changes as far as operations go and what does the city do to contribute to this large event?
I just think everything ramps up, like with the trash. We put out additional trash cans. With the pancake breakfast, we're going to put out additional porta potties, just utility things that need to be done. Obviously, the parks crews get all the parks looking very nice and make sure they're nice and green and welcoming to the community. As far as law enforcement, we do have to ramp up some of that law enforcement because of just the amount of people that are in town. So we bring in some additional law enforcement. We have a remote command booth that we bring in just for the event. So as far as city services, it's a load.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny that, but it's such a great event and people love it so much, and we're just happy to be a part of it.
It's one of those things where people don't mind having to pull an extra shift. People don't mind, I got to make 2 stops at this waste bin instead of 1.
Right.
Well, it's rodeo week.
Right.
Yeah, we all jump in on this one.
And it's just it's part of our tradition. I mean, everybody knows it's coming. Everybody knows what's going to happen. Everybody knows we're going to have this massive influx of people coming to town. It's the highlight reel, for the summer.
Absolutely.
And so it's just a great event. And like I said, that board has just done a great job developing this event over the years.
Oh, they've made a quality product.
They have made
They
a quality
really
product.
have.
Yeah.
And a lot of hard work goes into that. I had the honor of speaking with 3 members on the board, and each one of them an absolute delight to have in here.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, they start. I mean, as soon as this one's over, they're
already getting plans. Yep.
Yeah.
And as a board member, I would imagine, like even walking through, you can be like, wow, we did good this year. But the eye is probably always on, what can I do better?
Right.
What can use some improvement? And going through there and being able to critique yourself, I think is really important because, hey, that's what we're trying to do every year. Let's make it bigger. Let's make it better. Let's make this the rodeo to stop at. And they've done a fantastic job getting it just to where it is now. So waste management seriously increased. This is typical of any large event. I can imagine what Cheyenne Frontier Days looks like when it comes to waste management, the amount of garbage that's generated by the, tens of thousands of people that stop in there. Have you been to the landfill and witnessed the amount of garbage that actually comes through?
Not for rodeo. I mean, I've been to the landfill several times.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot. And the thing about landfills is they're kind of high tech. I mean,
a lot more high tech than people think.
You don't realize all the work that goes into a landfill. You just don't dump your garbage and walk away.
It's not in the valley off to the edge of the county anymore,
you don't find a gully somewhere and throw your stuff in. So there again, obviously with rodeo, you have a huge increase in the amount of waste. And so you have a huge increase in all of the dispensers that are put out to collect that garbage. You do a lot more runs to collect all that garbage. And then that all ends up in the landfill, and then we deal with it up there. But again, it's just business as usual for the city, because we've been doing this for so many years that we kind of know what we're doing.
It's just one of the steps in the way throughout the year.
Right.
Now, how many meetings do you end up having to attend on top of the regular meetings for rodeo prep week?
Not that many.
Not that many.
I mean, it's one of those things that you just know it's coming. I mean, you've been doing it for years. This is decades we've been doing this event.
It's literally just part of operation.
Right.
Sort of like the old saying goes, this isn't our first rodeo. So our department heads are very, very good about getting it prepared. So it's just business as usual. As the mayor said, we know it's coming. One thing about the city, this proves the city and the county work together real well. And these kind of events go real well. And the city, they don't wait till Wednesday morning to start this activity. They've started weeks before doing the preparatory work, as the mayor alluded to. They make sure the bins are out, the streets are clean. Like I said, it's a well-oiled machine right now, so we can be really proud of everyone that works for the city and also the county. This is a group effort, and it just shows that I think everybody's got their ducks in a row.
Oh, yeah, which makes everything else much more enjoyable, because you don't have to break away from the rodeo to go deal with something else. And on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we return, we will continue with the city of Sheridan. This is Public Pulse on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM. Sheridan.
At Eliason Financial, money management isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about dreams and opportunities, and more importantly, family. We'll take time to get to know you. Then we'll develop a unique wealth management plan that works hard, just like you. To learn more about who we are and what our wealth management advisors can do for you, visit Eliason Financial online or call 307-672-3010. Securities offered through Royal Alliance Associates, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC.
Strong work ethic, and someone who will fight for small business. Hi, I'm Jared Geyer, and I own a small business right here in Sheridan, and I know what it means to work hard and earn an honest paycheck. Cyrus Western will work hard to reduce the size of government and keep regulations off our backs. He knows how important small businesses are to this community and cares greatly about job growth. If you support small businesses like mine, you should support Cyrus Western.
Paid for by Friends of Cyrus Western.
Okay, it's Thursday, and this WYO Rodeo Daily Update is brought to you by Wyoming Corporate Office, providing premier registered agent services, mail forwarding, and virtual office space. Tonight's PRCA Rodeo theme is Tough Enough to Wear Pink Night at the WYO Rodeo. The hospital will sell limited edition King Ropes caps to raise funds for early cancer screening and detection programs for patients at Sheridan Memorial Hospital's Welsh Cancer Center. Pre-rodeo entertainment starts at 6:30 p.m. World Championship Indian relay races begin at 7 and are followed by the high-octane PRCA rodeo action featuring the top cowboys and cowgirls in the world. Parking is available at the fairgrounds property and on the adjacent streets. Free remote parking is available at the Sheridan High School parking lot with complimentary trolley service at the fairgrounds. This YO Rodeo Daily Update is brought to you by Wyoming Corporate Office.
There aren't many faces people are excited to see first thing in the morning before they've even had their coffee. But the McDonald's drive-thru workers who take your order on the way to work have almost all of those faces.
Get your $1 any size hot coffee with caramel paired with a sausage McMuffin. Right now, buy one sausage McMuffin and get another one for just $1. Price and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
It's Sheridan Wild Rodeo Week. Join Sheridan Media for our broadcast of the Friday morning activities. We'll be there from the pancake breakfast to the sneakers and spurs run to the bed races and, of course, the parade itself. We'll be live on KROE AM 930 and 103.9 FM, the Coyote 93.7 FM, and online for the world to see at SheridanMedia.com and our Sheridan Media Facebook page. Parade coverage is presented in part by First Federal Bank and Trust, Heartland Kubota, Lee Heating and Cooling, Truebill Builders, and eBay Hearing and Sound.
Talk about Main Street.
All right. Good morning. Welcome back to Public Pulse. I'm Floyd Whiting. Now, I am joined this morning by the Mayor of Sheridan, Rich Bridger, and City Councilman Steve Brands. During the break, we were talking about how everyone should probably make sure that as you go out there to the rodeo, as you're heading out to the carnival and really enjoy these events, you're drinking water, you're staying cool. If you see shade, find it and get in there. It's gonna, the heat gets to us and we don't even notice. Now,
both Steve and I went last night to the rodeo, and I can tell you it was warm. So
it gets to be a bit of a scorcher, doesn't it?
yeah.
So make sure you've got something to drink out there.
Now, we didn't go together as a couple or anything. I went there with our respective other halves,
right.
but I would have loved to go with them. But yeah, it was a hot one last night. That was for sure.
So we don't want any heat injuries out there,
No.
folks. And it's something that we really got to take into account. Because, we get distracted. We're watching great rodeo. We're down at the carnival. We're shopping. Just make sure you're putting that water in your body. Now, we were talking about the YO Rodeo Week, what the city has to do to facilitate this annual event. We've talked about waste management and how the city compensates for that increase. Now, what kind of preparation has to take place before the event begins? We talked about meetings. Now, not a lot of them happen. The department heads know their business. They know it's coming, and they plan for it. So I got a question. With all the events and the people that do come into town, how do we prepare the city parks to host this event and these gatherings?
There's not, as far as prep for those, you just want them looking nice. So they've got them all manicured. They've got them mowed. The gardens are all looking very pretty right now. Obviously, with this heat, it makes it really tough to keep everything green, you know. But they're out there hustling and working hard. And so when people come to town, they see these nice, beautiful parks like Kendrick Park. And if you go down there today, anytime today, it'll just be packed. There'll be people there lined up for ice cream, playing in the playground, doing stuff by the band shell.
Having picnics.
Picnics.
Staying cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
By the
and
trees.
staying cool.
And
Well,
staying
one thing
cool.
too, again with the parks, you just want to make sure we don't have any major improvements or constructions going on in any area that may facilitate people in the summer. We don't want to shut down a park to do something major. So, we just want to make sure everything's ready to go. And like the mayor said, I went through the park yesterday and I was going to stop and get an ice cream cone, which I really needed desperately. But I mean, long story short, there was quite a bit of line, so that's probably something I'll do today. But it's amazing how many people show up to this little town for this rodeo.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
And the parks is where they go. This is especially when the day is looking as nice as it is, and you head out to the parks and you enjoy the equipment. You let the kids run off and start running through water or climbing on stuff, while you and the missus spread out a blanket and enjoy the sun.
That's it. That's part of rodeo. That's part of Sheridan, though, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that park or all of our parks are well used, and our trail system's just great. It's magnificent. And so people it's an outdoor community. They like to get outdoors. They like to enjoy the beauty of our town, and so it's kind of just part of our lifestyle, really.
When it comes to watering the parks, is that monitored really closely?
Well, everything's monitored. I mean, as far as metered. You know, we know what we're going through as far as water. And it's kind of cyclical. I mean, obviously, when it's hotter out, you water more. When it's not as hot and you've got some rain, you water less.
Yeah.
But this time of year, you can't hardly water enough. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
so-
June. Or
July,
July.
yeah.
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 June, it kind of starts at the end. And by the time we hit July, this is why June is my favorite month of the year, because you can drive around, everything's still green from the
Right.
spring, and it's absolutely beautiful outside. And I told my wife when she moved here, I said, you know, the sad part is that by July, everything kind of starts to turn to this brown because the heat is just too much, and we're all worried about water and how much we consume around here.
You know, we have excellent water resources. So I don't think water shortage is an issue. But that being said, if you look down the future, I think our maximum capacity, we anticipate that by like 2055, we'll have to look for additional water resources somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, so that's that talk about how we create extra water. Do we go out to Lake DeSmet? Do we look at buying additional shares of water? So all that stuff is in the mix because at some point with population growth and everything else, that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also we have to think too, it gives us a chance to prepare because it wasn't that many years ago we were talking about, zero landscaping, with new construction, we were talking rocks, gravel. And then of course we have a good water supply. So now we're going the other end of the spectrum. We have a lot of green space. Construction requires certain grass. People want the green grass. But, if it becomes an issue, we have to realize that there are other ways to landscape your yard that require little to no water.
Yeah.
And those are options available. And to a community where a lot of people are older and retired, sometimes not having a half-acre grass to maintain
Go out
is a
and take
good
care-
idea.
yeah.
It's a great idea. Go out there and just pour a cup of water on your cactus and your yard work's done for the day.
When my grandparents, they had a dairy farm out in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska. And eventually they reached that age, they sold it off and they moved into town. My grandma turned the entire backyard into a giant garden.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of lawn, but Grandma had her garden, and that's she was out there till she was 98 years old doing that. And,
Well, I had some friends come from Indiana once, and what amazed them the most of Sheridan was my collection of lawn sprinklers. They were from Indiana, right by the lakes, and they didn't have basically any kind of way to. They didn't water their yard because it was natural.
Right.
So to them, they were just amazed by the
Such an
amount-
yeah.
You have garden hoses and you have sprinklers. What in the world is that
almost
about?
an alien concept. And we've gotten to the point now where we got tractors that drive themselves. I mean, I can remember playing with those when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to city parks, they're designed to be fun places. They're designed for recreation, relaxation, and I've always felt that they really reflect a council and a mayor's attitude towards the city, because parks are where we hold our events. That's where my daughter's going to have a birthday. That's where we're going to have our family reunion. Parks are vital for a city, in my opinion. I imagine you guys feel the same.
Well, obviously my background is parks and recreation, and so I really see the value of parks and getting out and being outdoors and being with your family outdoors. There's just nothing really to match it, and it doesn't cost a lot. You just go out with your family, you enjoy your day in the park, maybe take a picnic lunch with you.
Yeah.
So in that green space and being out in Mother Nature, you just can't hardly replace that with anything else. And so, like I said, I grew up in parks and recreation, and I see the immense value of all of those amenities. So
You see the people coming in.
Right.
You see how often that they're used.
yeah, when people say, well, you don't want to put any money into this, or you don't want to put any money into amenities, I just kind of cringe, because that's part of our lifestyle. That's what makes life worth living.
Right.
I don't want to get to the point where your whole day is, well, let's go to work and then let's go home and go to bed.
Exactly. What are you living for? What are you working for?
Right.
Do you work to live, or do you live to work?
And it's a quality of life thing, really. I mean, just like you said, you work to live.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And, but
Well, that's pretty obvious. We just recently made parks its separate department for the city, which we understood it was necessary because we have grown. When I was a kid back in the Stone Age, we had Kendrick Park and that was it. Now we have, neighborhood parks, we have dog parks, we have a lot of green space. And I would echo what the mayor said. It's important for the community to have those. It's something that people want. And again, as being, elected officials, that's what we do. We listen to what our constituents want. And they did want parks. They want green space. They want pathways. And, obviously they're the ones paying for it. So they have every right to ask for these amenities. And we're really pleased that we could give it to the community. Because not only do we represent the community, we also live here. So we take advantage of all the niceties, things that we have in this area. Maybe we're not as young as we used to. We may not go and play softball in the park.
I'm not going to see the mayor and you on the slide anytime soon.
But we are going to probably be walking around and enjoying the fresh air and the coolness of the parks.
And I think that's another thing, when it's super hot out, you can go to the park and it's almost like the temperature drops 5 degrees the minute you walk out onto that grass.
It's weird. I'm getting really off track now, but I have a scooter, and so I ride my scooter every once in a while. He has a much more nicer motorcycle. But I live up on top of the hill. I live by the fairgrounds, but when I drop down into that valley, it's a 5 or 6 degree temperature difference that you feel when you drop down into the valley. So like going down to Kendrick Park, it's like, oh, this is kind of nice down here.
Maybe today's not as hot as I thought it was.
So we're disclosing the fact that our mayor is a biker guy now. So I guess
I'm a scooter guy.
Pretty tough guy.
Now, you touched on that department, the creation of the department. The thing that kind of fascinated me about it, we're not going to have to really add additional funds or personnel to this.
No, we just basically the person that was in charge, we just created a position where he was actually in charge.
Where it's technically official.
Right.
I mean, that's really all that happened.
Right.
The job was already being done.
Right.
Now we just gave it a name.
Give it some recognition, made it its own department so he has a little bit more independence. Mm-hmm. Everything was through a different department, and it's through engineering, basically. And so it was kind of not in their bailiwick.
Yeah.
To dealing
Hans
with parks.
Hans is worried about streets and
that darn Hans.
Utility. He's great. I love that guy.
What a name!
He's great.
Was he born with that name?
He's got the greatest name in the city. I'm telling you.
I think he changed it.
But it's good to know that hey, this is a new department. We've got a new department head who's going to be really watching over this and making sure that these parks are taken care of. Because as we've alluded to, these things are obviously very important for a city.
Yeah.
And so within that wheelhouse, it's the department head going to be looking at the trails as well and working with our Parks and Rec department.
Right.
And
we work pretty well together already. But basically, Parks and Rec, we just take care of ball fields. That's our kind of our deal. We're active parks. Whereas the cities are more of the passive parks, just the leisure parks, those kind of things. But that being said, they're a great help to the Sheridan Recreation District. They always has been. Steve Gage and those guys, they just do a wonderful job. And that's also weed and mosquito management. That's under the Parks Department.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All the fogging that happens, that's under the Parks Department. Any larviciding, tree pruning, that's all under the Parks Department. So it's more than just cutting grass.
Right. There's a lot encompasses in this thing.
Yeah.
Because if you really take a step back and look at how many trees are in this city and owned by the city, that's a lot of maintenance.
Somewhere in my notes here, there's 4,738 trees in the city.
Wow.
Yeah. Each of them have a number.
Wow, but I mean, that's a year-round job, really.
Right.
In the middle of winter, look at the storm that we had at the beginning of spring this year.
Yeah.
It took down, gosh, how many limbs?
Oh, just tons. It was forever to get it all picked up, too.
Yeah, and the city stepped forward on that one, which was absolutely great.
Yeah, and that's, again, our arborist, Clark Van Hoosier, he's a remarkable guy. He does a great job, and his crew. And I'm starting to name names, and so I'm feeling like I'm leaving people out, so I need to stop. But they just do a wonderful job. And you'll see them in the middle of winter. They're out pruning trees. Mm-hmm. I mean, so they've just done a remarkable job with our tree population. So Hats off to them.
And hopefully every limb that would fall in a storm like that is done falling, at least for a little while.
Yeah, that's that was all hands on deck, that one, because there was so much that would just happen and everything fell and it was piles of trees and it took forever to get everything picked up. And
the night that storm happened, Lieutenant Eric Jorgensen from the Highway Patrol, him and I were having a conversation. And he said, Floyd, this is going to be a big one. And he said, there's going to be limbs down all over the place. Mm-hmm. He called that. And I remember the next morning when we started getting the news about how many were actually down, I shot him a text and I said, man, you saw this coming from a mile away. You hit it right on the nose.
Right.
Now, speaking of streets and road signs, do we schedule construction of our streets and stuff around YO Rodeo? Or is it just one of those things where it's like, look, it's got to get done, and so we got to stay on target? Or do we try and do that a little bit?
It depends. It depends on the street. I mean, if it's an off street and you're doing work on it, that's fine. If it's a primary artery, then we try to work around that. Next year's a prime example because we're going to be tearing up Main Street.
It's going to start, yeah.
And so we won't have the parade on Main Street, obviously. We'll have to move it over. But then that being said, we're going to it's going to be a rolling start where we do just like a block. When we get one done, we move to the next one. But so yeah, it's a consideration. But like I said, it mainly depends on where that construction's at. So like if it's at Fifth Street, you really don't want to be doing that during rodeo if you can get away with it. Same with Main Street. You really don't want to do that if you can get away with it. Same with Laux.
Laux, yeah.
So you kind of just, those main arteries, if you can stay away from those, you want to stay away from them.
And Hans, I'm sure he takes a look at that and he's like, okay, this is going to be a busy one.
Yeah,
So we're going to back
Hans is
off
the
of
man.
That. He really is. He really is. We're lucky with him. I got to take a quick commercial break. When we return, we're going to continue with our city of Sheridan. This is Public Pulse on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM, Sheridan.
At Eliason Financial, money management isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about dreams and opportunities, and more importantly, family. We'll take time to get to know you. Then we'll develop a unique wealth management plan that works hard, just like you. To learn more about who we are and what our wealth management advisors can do for you, visit Eliason Financial online or call 307-672-3010. Securities offered through Royal Alliance Associates, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC.
Would you like to turn your fly cast into an art form or learn how to process your own meat? Would you like to learn American Sign Language or study different styles of yoga? Sheridan College is offering community interest classes to provide unique learning experiences that will feed your curiosity in a wide variety of subjects such as art, technology, outdoor, and cultural topics. Begin tailoring your education to your hobbies by visiting www.sheridan.edu/community. Using our easy online form to enroll or call an advisor today at 307-675-0500.
Parker Mellinger provides business advisory services tailored for you specifically to help your business become compliant, tax efficient, organized, and strategically aligned with your goals. Think of us as part of your team. You will rest more comfortably knowing that you are covering all of your financial bases and making informed decisions. Contact us today. Parker Mellinger. Our focus is where you're going, not where you've been.
Darla and the staff at Best Out West Antiques and Collectibles want you to know distracted driving is one of the biggest causes of auto accidents nationwide. Do your part to keep your kids safe this summer. Keep your eyes on the road and hands on the wheel. Best Out West Antiques and Collectibles. Shopping is so much fun at Best Out West. They have a great selection of antiques and gift ideas for any occasion. Visit Best Out West Antiques and Collectibles Rodeo Week and remember to drive safely.
Shop the Cowboy Cash Western Market at the Ramada Plaza during Rodeo Week. Modeled after Cowboy Christmas at the NFR, Cowboy Cash is a shopping extravaganza. Western wear, hats, boots, jewelry, art, home decor, and more, featuring vendors from all over. Find the perfect outfit. Shop for gifts and home decor. The Cowboy Cash Western Market will be open daily at the Ramada Plaza in Sheridan from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. July 13th through the 16th, the week of Sheridan's YO Rodeo.
The owners and staff at Kane's Funeral Home would like to thank the families of Sheridan and Johnson counties for choosing Kane's and allowing them to serve you during these hard times. Kane Funeral Home makes it their mission to take the stress and uncertainty out of ceremonial services. They own and operate the only crematory in Sheridan County, so your loved one is always in their care. Kane's Funeral Home. Call 673-5837 or visit them online at kanefuneral.com.
Good morning and welcome back to Public Pulse, brought to you by our friends out there at Eliason Financial. I'm Floyd Whiting, and this morning I am joined by the mayor of Sheridan, Mr. Rich Bridger, and our city councilman, Steve Brandt. Now, we've talked about events that are happening during the rodeo and how the city compensates for that. One of the things that we do need to talk about, just real quick, I want to touch on. I've spoken with the police about the rodeo week, and they do everything that they can to really cut down on the amount of DUIs. Mr. Mayor, there is something that has changed this year regarding alcohol that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah. Well, basically, in the past, they blocked off Main Street and it was kind of just bands on one end, bands on the other. You could walk around with drinks in your hand, that sort of thing. And that doesn't happen this year. They aren't doing that. So the main thing I want to tell everybody is there is an open container ordinance still in place. So you don't want to be walking around downtown with a drink in your hand because you'll be arrested, basically.
Yeah.
You'll be cited.
Yeah, get cited for crossing the street with the brown bag.
That's
right?
That's it. So just rodeos, being downtown and being in the bars and stuff is part of all the festivities. But just be safe and be conscious of what's going on.
Absolutely, and I don't think anyone goes out there to drink with the intention of getting a DUI or driving home drunk. But this is one of those events, folks, that, when I was talking with the captain of the Sheridan Police Department, we can plan for this one. I am going out there to have a good time. So just in case I have too much, I'm going to ask my buddy who doesn't drink what he's going to be doing that night. Maybe he'll come pick us up and drop us off if I end up having a drink or whatever. Have a contingency plan in your back pocket.
And if you don't have any friends and nobody likes you, we actually have free rides as well.
Yeah. Free rides, they're right there. Yeah, it's something that's made available. I think the only thing is, like on Friday, Saturday night might be a little long of a wait, but you know what? It's a heck of a lot better than waking up in jail the next morning. I'll tell you that right now.
And those will be, the free rides is on about the 100 block of East Loucks. And so if you need a free ride, those are available. But like you say, there could be a few people there, so you might end up waiting a while to get your ride home.
And be nice to the drivers.
Yes.
Right.
These are volunteers. They've stepped forward to ensure that you get home safely.
Right.
After having a good time.
And that's part of it, too. We don't want to see anybody get hurt or injured or be stupid and get in a car accident. So, just show good sense.
But I want to say one thing about the street dance just to make people aware, because I've had a few people mention that the city wouldn't allow the street dance anymore. And just so just for public acknowledgement, the city never sponsored the street dance. That was always done by the local taverns.
Yeah.
They got together and had that as as an activity. They chose to just have individual,
have their own celebrations.
Yeah. And so just so the public's aware that, the street dance was never either, we had no control of that. That was a private entities doing that. So they chose not to do it.
And something that I want to touch on building on top of what you just said, Councilman, the police didn't either.
No.
They're not the ones who tried to talk people out of this. The city's not the ones who talk people out of this. It's just the establishments have made the decision, you know what, we're going to have our own little celebrations, and that's okay too.
And I don't know what the thought process was there or wasn't there, but that's just the reality. The city had nothing to do with that decision. So, yeah.
Well, and I can remember going to street dances in my 20s. It was. Let's just say it was never a safe event for me and my friends. Now we've talked about YO Rodeo. We've talked about some events that are going on here in the city. Mr. Mayor, is there anything else that you would like to say about YO Rodeo or the week coming up?
Yeah, just one quick thing is that City Hall. We're going to be closed from 10 to 1 for the parade. But we'll be open before and we'll be open afterwards, so we'll be open for business. But during that short time period, the City Hall will be closed. So
everyone wants to go out and watch the parade.
Everyone wants a rodeo parade. That's it.
And I think that's amazing. A parade. It seems like such a simple thing, but if you really look at it, take a parade from a small town. Mm-hmm. Have them not hold a parade that year. It's heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely heartbreaking.
Right.
I mean, parades are important. It's really us coming together and celebrating our culture together, celebrating Sheridan.
Right.
And I love parades.
Well, that's another thing that people don't realize on that parade. That parade's gotten larger and larger every year, and the logistics of it just become crazy after a while.
Oh, I could imagine.
And, they got everybody lined up in their block,
the staging areas.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So,
and then we've got dignitaries coming in from out of town.
Yeah,
and they take part in it, and we got to make sure that they're taken care of and safe.
Yeah.
The logistics behind a parade, folks. That itself, I imagine, could probably be a whole show.
Yeah, I think oddly enough, though, nobody asked Steve or I to be in the parade. So.
No, I don't understand that. we did actually, as a city, we did try to order a good day for it. It's supposed to be nice and toasty warm.
Oh, yeah. So that's another event. Make sure that you've got something to drink when you're out there.
Get your lawn chairs out on the street early so that your spot doesn't get taken.
Yeah. Get the shady side.
Yeah, get the shady side. Go to the west side. East side is for those that like the sun. There's there's some planning that's involved in
Absolutely.
it. As a spectator, you have
it's parade strategy.
There you go. Parade. It's a battle plan. We got a battle plan.
Yeah.
Make sure you get your pancakes so you're nice
That's
and
it.
fed, and then you sit back and watch the parade.
And I bring that up because it's just one of those things. We battle. I've had people call me and say they just don't like the lawn chairs out on the curb. And in reality, it is kind of a pain, but it's one day a year. What do you want? What do you want the city to do? I mean, I guess we could go and arrest all the lawn chairs, but the thing is, it's just one day.
Full center.
Yeah. Let's just smile, and we're a community. Let's just get through it and just realize that it's part of the tradition. We can make it say, hey, look at our beautiful lawn chairs.
Yeah. There you go. Look at the collection.
Yeah.
That'd be a photo, wouldn't it? Just downtown Sheridan lined with lawn chairs.
That is a good shot.
That would be a good shot right there. Now, switching off subjects here, I wanted to touch on it. We've only got about 6 minutes left, but this is an important survey coming your way. What is the Thriving 2035 survey?
Well, we created a group called the Economic Development Task Force. And it's got members from the city, myself and Stuart McRae are on that. Then we have some members from Impact 307, the college, DSA. I'm leaving Butte County.
Yeah.
And so if I forgot anybody, please forgive me. But we just wanted to get a survey of what people like and don't like in our community, what they would like maybe to see in the future. Accumulate all that through the summer. We're just handing out random questionnaires, and we have it online at City Hall, share our city count, and then I think DSA has the same on theirs. And it's just 4 simple questions. And I'm trying to find my questions. It's what do you value about your community? What do you value about the Sheridan area? What would you like to see in the future, say 10 to 15 years from now? And then we want you to provide your zip code so we can see if you're a local or if you're somewhere from out of town.
Yeah.
But it's just to get a feel for what people want to see in the community and give us a direction to move forward in the future.
And, we were talking about battle plan, for the parade. This itself is part of the city's battle plan, like a strategic planning where we sit down and we basically look at what our priorities are and where should the money and the effort and the resources go.
Right.
And so this is important, folks. If you get an opportunity, you're here in Sheridan, even if you're a visitor.
Right.
Even if you're a visitor, fill it out.
Say what you like. You know, see what you didn't like, what you liked. That being said, the Wyoming Business Council, at the end, we're going to compile all this, and the Wyoming Business Council is going to help us make it into a document. and it'll be a good tool to move forward.
Absolutely. It's something that we can always make reference to. I guess you could call it like a bumper on the side. So as we go forward, we always check this and make sure, hey, are we staying within our firing line here? So.
Yeah. And it's like I said, it's not just the city, it's a conglomeration of everybody that's an interested party.
Yeah. So if you're a visitor, you're out there listening right now, jump online.
Right.
We'd like to hear from you as well because you're a visitor to the city.
Right.
And we would like you to come back.
Yeah.
So what's going to draw people here?
Yeah.
Now, so what is the landfill mall? I only got about 2 minutes left.
I'll let Steve go with this.
Oh, this is exciting. I go to the landfill quite a bit, and they have a no salvaging policy. When I was a kid, we used to go to the landfill and you drop off, 200 pounds of garbage and bring 300 pounds back home.
My mom did the same thing.
And it's amazing what people throw away because of what there may not have a value to that person, but to someone else there's value. I went up there the other day and I was dropping off some iron in the iron pile, and I'm looking and there's all these lawnmowers with nice wheels and there's a barbecue grill. I mean, there's just stuff that I'd say, I could be a hoarder really easy. And I don't think that's what the point is. We're not trying to make hoarders out of people in Sheridan. But what they're going to do is they're going to erect a building. And when the products and items that come to the landfill that have value, they're going to put it in a building, and they will probably take pictures of it, generate it on the website. And if a person wants to purchase those items, which is kind of a high-tech recycling policy, program, you can actually go and bid on these items and get these items. We as a community, not just Sheridan, everybody, we throw away a lot of items that people would love to have. So this will give us an opportunity to take that out of our landfill and give it to people that could use it.
And one thing I do want to touch on this
good idea.
before we go, this money is not going to be, this isn't a cash cow.
No.
The money from this is going to go right back to operating our landfill.
Operating the landfill, so it's not. It won't make a profit. It'll just help offset some of the costs.
Absolutely. All right, Councilman, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you both for coming in this morning.
No, thank you, Floyd. It was fun.
It's a great show. Thank you, and have a fantastic rodeo weekend, gentlemen.
You as well. Same with the community. Have a great rodeo.
Stay safe.
Get out there and have fun. Make sure you're drinking that water. You've been listening to Public Pulse on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM. Sheridan.